Tonight, Parliament takes unusual step of rescinding its passage of error-ridden vigilantism and related offences bill just 48 hours after it passed that bill into law and sent it to the president for assent.
Strictly speaking, the bill has been passed, but we are trying to reverse something that we did when we took the bill through the third reading and had it passed. We are human beings. As human beings, we are bound to commit errors.
So how did Parliament miss such an obvious error? We'll interrogate that when we speak to the members of Parliament themselves.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, also brought to you by Gas and Cement, the Nation Builder, Vodafone. The future is exciting, ready, and Nationwide Medical Health Insurance, your healthcare family. It's just 48 hours since Parliament passed the much-awaited, anticipated vigilantism and related offences bill. In fact, when it was passed, both sides of the House, the minority and the majority sides, were unanimous that this is the best bill in the form they can ever pass, and they were confident that the state in which it was the best they could ever get. They were ready to push it, and in fact did push it, for the president to give it his assent. Now listen to the chairman and the ranking member on the Legal Constitutional Affairs Committees in Parliament, who actually supervised the actual scrutiny of this bill before submitting it to the House itself for passage, and the confidence that they had just 24 hours ago when they spoke to the issues after it had been passed on Monday.
The minority is satisfied with the bill that was passed today. That was why the passage was unanimous.
So at this particular moment, what I would say is that Parliament has done the best we possibly can to ensure the successful passage of the vigilantism and related offences.
So the last voice here is Ben Abdallah, you just heard there. He's a chairman of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee in Parliament. The one you heard before is Inusuf Hussaini, who is a ranking on that same committee. They scrutinized the bill, and you see they hear the confidence with which they asserted that the bill was in the best form possible. Well, 48 hours on, we are now learning they have discovered errors that cannot pass, and so Parliament has now been forced to take what some are calling an unprecedented step of undoing the passage of the bill, rescinding the passage of the bill, which they had done just 48 hours ago. My colleague, Parker Wilson, caught up with Ben Abdallah, the chairman of the committee, and put a few questions to him about what are these errors exactly.
We are not rescinding the vigilantism bill. We are only rescinding our decision for the reading of the vigilantism bill for the third reading. It's just a minor error that we want to correct with respect to the sanction regime. The sanction regime, we are legislating that when you are convicted, you cannot contest for any election. You cannot contest any election to gain access to any party office or public service or into the public service. Now, the original rendition in the bill was to the effect that a person can be convicted and sentenced for 5 years. And that is not in line with the relevant provision of the Constitution. Because the Constitution says that before you could be disqualified, then you should have been sentenced for 10 years. And you should have served the 10-year sentence, and 10 years after your sentence, your serving of the sentence would have expired before you can contest for any election. Simply put, what I'm trying to say is that in the Act, there is a provision that says that you could be convicted for and sentenced for 5 years, and after that you will be disqualified for contesting, for contesting any election into a political party office. But that will not reflect what the Constitution says. The Constitution put the minimum sentence at 10 years. But this
So
law
you want to bring it back?
No, we want to enhance it. We want to enhance the sentencing regime from 5 years to 10 years in order to bring it in line with what the Constitution says.
So you did a poor job. You should have taken your time to do this before. Passing the bill, sir.
No, we amended it. We amended it, except that it didn't reflect. So what we are seeking to do is not to amend the vigilantism bill. It's not to revoke the vigilantism bill. That's not what we are saying. So if you say that we are revoking the vigilantism bill, then the impression we are putting out there is that we are sort of reversing what we have done so far. But that is not what we are trying to do. What I'm saying is it's just a minor error that we are trying to correct. So we are rather rescinding, the House is rescinding as a decision for the third reading. It's for the third reading.
Don't you think that for a bill like this, the magnitude of a bill like this, you shouldn't be committing such an error, knowing the level of threats we are dealing with in this country?
We are human beings. As human beings, we are bound to commit errors. We are not infallible. To that extent, if at the end of the day, and we've been able to realize that there is an error, and we are timelessly rectifying the error, what is wrong with that?
I want to bring in now the ranking member on that committee, Mr. Fuseni, joins us on the telephone line. Mr. Fuseni, I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story.
Evans, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Your chairman describes this error as minor. Is it minor, really?
Yes, very, very, very.
I mean, it's minor, and yet you passed it. It was on its way to the president for assent, and you've recorded and rescinded the passage. That doesn't sound to me like what a minor error will do.
You can't correct it without rescinding the third reason.
You say it's minor.
You can't correct a bill, no matter how minor. Even if it is a correction to delete an A, you have to rescind the third reading. It's a procedural problem. So to be able to deal with the error, you have to rescind the third reading, to seize yourself with jurisdiction to deal with the bill. Having passed the bill, and as we speak, having not rescinded the third reading, Parliament is functus officio to the bill.
Explain that for me, functus officio.
Parliament, having passed the bill, cannot come to deal with the bill again until the third reading is rescinded. You have relieved yourself of the responsibility of working on the bill. And it now falls within the domain of the presidency to assent to the bill. But in between the compilation and the transmission, an error has been detected. That error could well pass if you don't want to rescind the bill.
Why didn't it pass if it's so minor?
Why didn't it?
I mean, why didn't you simply just transmit to the president if it's so minor?
Well, the president will see that is the intendment of Parliament. But there will be an internal inconsistency. Sentencing regimes must be consistent. This is about a sentencing regime where the lower limit of the sentence is 5 years. It is not the 5 years. It's the effect of the 5 years. and what follows thereafter. Because the law says, the way it has been passed, says that when you are sentenced to a minimum period of 10 years, you will cease to hold office as a political office or a public office. Now, you will not be qualified to contest for a public office. Now, by the Constitution, it should be a sentence of 10 years and not 5 years. And not 5 years. Now, so...
Yeah, I mean, and that's the question.
There is the internal consistency.
Yes.
And that arises because the initial bill had put abetment and other inchoate offenses on a sentencing regime whose lower limit was 5 and the upper limit was 15. That is why that amendment escaped us.
And why are we discovering this now? Because this bill had been thoroughly scrutinized by yourselves, and you were absolutely confident 24 hours ago this is the best form you could pass it in. It went through many reviews, many amendments, and from what you suggest, it's very obvious mistake there.
Well, so you see, Evans, that's why I'm surprised that you're not commending Parliament. That means that Parliament is very diligent. Because when the bill is passed, the amendments to a bill are captured in the votes and proceedings and consequent upon debate on the House. So after the third reading has been done, all amendments that have been moved and accepted or agreed to in the House will have to be collated and put under the various provisions to reflect the intent of Parliament. It is in the compilation of the bill, as captured in the votes and proceedings, manifesting the amendments in the House, that revealed this error. And that's the error that Parliament is seeking to remedy. Evans, Parliament could simply let it go, but that would require an amendment bill in Parliament specifically to amend that portion. So we think it's prudent, wise, intelligent to rescind the third reading that was passed a few days ago and bring back the bill, deal with the sentencing regime, correct it to make it consistent with the law, and then send it for signature.
So the sentencing regime now will be what? The corrected
10
version?
years. Instead of 10, it's 5. It's 10 years. The lower limit should be 10 years and not 5.
And you just recounted for us how it was spotted.
Yes, so like I said...
And I'm saying that just to clarify, when we spoke to you, was it yesterday or Monday evening when this was passed? And you were absolutely confident this was the best form of the bill you could pass. You didn't know this, correct?
We didn't know that.
And
we didn't know that. We didn't deal with that particular clause or sub-clause of the bill that put the sentencing regime at 5 years.
I mean, but you see why people will be scratching their heads and say, Yusuf Hussein is an astute lawyer of many years. Ben Abdallah, many of you in that committee are known to be long-standing lawyers, many years under your belt. This has gone through many reviews. Civil society had looked into this. How did we miss this? You explained it, but you see why people will be questioning, raising, did Parliament go to sleep?
Ivan, it simply shows that even after the bill has been passed, we don't just walk away to sleep. We have to make sure that the bill reflects the intent of Parliament and consistent. There is internal consistency in the bill. We have to make sure that happens. So we didn't just, after passing the bill, go to sleep. Work still continued. Yes, we use our best endeavors to pass the bill. But then, inadvertently, we failed to ensure a consistent sentencing regime in the bill. Now, the bill has not been assented to yet. If the bill had been assented to by the president, that would have required an amendment bill in Parliament to deal with the matter. But that didn't have to happen because we had to compile the bill as amended and manifested in the votes and proceedings of the House. So I think that our committee should be commended to the effect that when we pass a bill, we don't simply go and sleep. We make sure that the bill is actually what happened in Parliament.
Procedurally, what happens now?
Procedurally, the majority leader is moving for a rescission, or the Attorney General is going to move for a rescission. Now, we didn't know whether even the Speaker will accept a rescission because this is a new development. We've never passed a bill and moved for a rescission. But that is a procedure available in Parliament. And so the minister has to move for a rescission of the third reading, not the bill, a third reading. If that is accepted, that brings the bill within the context of a second reading. Then you do second consideration of the bill. And the second consideration will allow you to effect the change or the amendment to make the bill internally, the sentencing, the penalties and sentencing regime internally consistent. And then we'll do the third reading. So that's what is going to happen. But Evans, once again, to assure the people of Ghana that when we expend our energies, time, and effort in working on the bill, we simply do not walk away to go and sleep. We are interested in the compilation of the debate and the amendments affected or effected on the bill in Parliament. And that when we detect that the bill does not reflect what has happened on the floor of the House, we are entitled to draw attention to it and the necessary amendments effected or corrections done. And that's what we are doing now.
When do you hope now this new the procedural issues you just talked about to correct the defect will end for this bill to be passed again for the second time in 1 week?
I had expected them because I continuously asked the majority leader when the motion for rescission will be moved. Yesterday, he had told me that today it requires the minister to move the motion. And when the motion is moved and our attention drawn to that particular area, we just effect the amendment by the House, and then we move for the third reading. In this case, mind you, the bill was introduced into the House under the particular agency. So in this case, after the amendment, we can still move for the third reading to be done and suspend the standing orders. And then the thing will be done. This is just procedural.
Yeah, but you're going on recess next week Friday. You hope this will happen before Friday next week?
Well, this should have happened today. The majority leader had told me that they were looking at the possibility of it happening today. As why it didn't happen today, I'm unable to tell. But it ought to happen even in this week. Probably tomorrow.
We'll pass one bill twice in the week.
Yes. So because of the exigencies of the situation, not to.
Is this? You've been in Parliament for some time. Has this happened before?
No, I've just told you that's never happened before. But I know we have passed a bill, the Bank of Ghana bill, the Bank of Ghana Act. Mind you, the amendment of the Bank of Ghana Act came a few months after we had passed the Act because a similar problem had been detected. And so you needed to bring an amendment to correct it. That's why I'm saying that we could let the bill go and the president will assess that particular sentencing regime or penalty that is there ought to be internally consistent. And so we will have to bring it back, not only internally consistent with the bill, but consistent with other laws that that prohibit a person from contesting for public office, which requires a minimum sentence to be served. And so, when you are seeking to achieve internal consistency, and you are seeking to make the bill as intelligent as possible and fair as possible, you can't afford to make a lot of mistakes. And so that's why we are taking the earliest available opportunity to be able to correct it.
Well, I'm grateful that you joined us. As he just explained there, this is an unprecedented move by Parliament. Never happened in the fourth Republican Constitution, where a law is passed. 48 hours later, that passage is rescinded, and they intend to pass it again. One bill will be passed twice in 1 week. Really unprecedented, because they missed an error. He says it's minor, but Parliament deserves commendation, he says, because they spotted their own error after it was passed, and they were compiling for the president to put a signature to it for it to become law. You can make of it what you will. You can send me your thoughts on this. I'll share with the rest of the world. 0244340437. Now let's stay with the issues relating to the campaign and the public push to disband party militias now, because there has been a parallel effort which was happening side by side, the legal attempts and to fix the problem to legislation, which has been spearheaded by the Peace Council. Well, that committee that is dealing with this, with the two main political parties, met today on the roadmap. And my colleague Parker Wilson had been following that for us. Parker, what happened?
Okay, so Evans, you know that concerns were raised about the mediation process because the bill has been passed, and today when the committee met, of course they factored all that into it, and again the committee had asked the political parties to submit their input into the roadmap, which according to them they have received, and today they reviewed all the input put together by the political parties. So I had a conversation with the chairman of the National Peace Council, and he tells me that for him, though the bill has been passed, of course, we didn't know that Parliament was going to rescind the passage of
now
the
it hasn't been passed. It was passed.
Right.
Now it's not passed.
Right.
Then it will be passed. And then we'll have to hope that the president
exactly.
To it.
So for him, at the time when we spoke, the bill, as we knew, had been passed. Mm-hmm. And so for him, he said that, listen, we are still going to continue with the mediation process. Whether the bill has been passed or not, we are making sure that we compel or try to admonish the political parties to voluntarily disband their party militias.
They have submitted it, and we are looking at it.
And you are reviewing the input?
They have submitted it. We are looking at it.
And by the way, by looking at it is to enrich the roadmap.
They have submitted it. We are looking at it.
But Chairman, finally, Parliament passed the vigilantism bill,
which is good because it has nothing to do with what we are doing over there. It only reinforces what we're doing. What we are talking about is a voluntary thing, and Parliament has already enacted the laws. Okay, so we will continue with our talks.
Isn't that defeat the purpose of the mediation process?
No. It's a dialogue. It's not just a mediation.
But there's a law now to disband the group. So what would the mediation process achieve, sir?
There's a voluntary and a soft approach to things. The law reinforces what we will try to do. There are laws in this land against armed robbery and all that, but people are committing it. Okay? There's a moral dimension to everything. Ours is a moral assuasion. Try to convince them that the laws that all of us have helped to pass, let's also put in some energy to ensure that the law is kept.
There are those who said that, the Peace Council should end this meeting with the political parties because it's a waste of national resources since the law has been already enacted, sir.
No, we have come this far. And we have one more meeting and we'll be done.
And when is that meeting, sir?
We don't know yet.
But you are discussing with the political parties?
Yes, we are. We don't know yet. We will set a date, and when we do so, we will invite you to be there.
And you say that so far they've been cooperative enough?
Oh yes. The fact that they've brought input shows that they've been cooperative.
I understand that the NDC shut down the whole roadmap.
They didn't.
Joineys had a copy of.
They did not.
Cited copies of the NDC roadmap.
They did not shut down anything.
They didn't shut down the roadmap by the National Peace Council?
No, they have brought in their inputs.
Right. And they believe that what you submitted wasn't the best for them?
Obviously, I mean, if they're going to make inputs, then they will think that we need to add one or two things to it. We will have a look at that. Please, let me go.
So why are you considering their inputs here?
I've told you that we have met. We are looking at the
success of fashion. Trusted, innovative financial services, providing inflation support and solutions. Customer-oriented, superior services. Your success of fashion. 10 good years of loyalty, service with integrity, protective of our Ghanaian brand. 10 years of Texas, 10 years of loyalty. Your success of fashion, oh yeah. Your success of fashion.
Your success, our passion.
Get 100% bonus when you top up airtime with Vodafone Cash. Dial *110# to top up now. If you know, you know.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Thank you, folks. On my A list today, show some love for Contractor EB. So, Contractor, what do you think about the country's changing skyline?
Oh, send them down there, Shurima. Across skyline, they change you.
Wow. Contractor, don't you get worried when you hear of buildings collapsing?
I'm out for an one on Tassam. It is the likability of using low quality product.
Please explain why.
Yeah, cement is no quality on your gasem. Village of Fefu. It was built with gasem. Says the gasem all construction. Osi ho pumping. Sha N1 Kejete Market. Kotokana Kumasi Airport. Cape Coast Stadium. Atrabu gas project in na. Gasebo. Messi what the quality. You know what is quality?
Gasem. 3 cement grades. Greater value. Gasem. The nation builder.